Are you ready to start closing high-paying clients on automation? Well, using Instagram ads and Facebook ads can really be the way to do that as long as you're doing it strategically. So that's what this video is all about. I'm going to be showing you guys everything on how to create ads that are actually going to turn complete strangers into actual high-paying clients of yours. So before we do that, before we jump in, I want you to like and subscribe to this video so that you get notified every time a new video goes live. Now before we get into the actual ad strategy and moving forward, that's really super important, but what's even more important to know that people don't seem to realize is that ads are only there for traffic. They are not there to really close the client. You have the responsibility to close that stranger into a high-paying client of yours. But let me break down a really simple formula, really simple step-by-step process on how to get someone to go from ad, like they saw the ad, they clicked the ad, and they went to something else, and then they eventually bought from you. So let's go ahead and break that down. So the first step in this process is that you need to create a free training. Now you probably are like, oh, I'm tired of hearing this over and over again, but I teach webinars, workshops, whatever you want to call it. I teach them such more simple than any other person that you will ever meet out there. And it works actually really super well because you have to do it in a way where we can actually make sure that the consumer is watching the video from A to Z, from 0 seconds all the way to the end. And that is the main goal of a webinar because we want to get them to the point of, you know, they get to know who you are as an expert. They get to really understand that your framework is the best. And then you get to really talk about your offer and why they should actually buy that offer or why they should get on a call with you, for example. So my webinars are so much more different and my clients' webinars are so much different from the average type of webinar that you've probably been a part of. You've probably been a part of a webinar that basically where they talk about themselves for a good hour and you're bored and you're like, I need to get out of this, right? Whereas our type of webinar that we kind of push out there, like my clients and I, is very different, in which we want to make sure that we're creating something where we get to show that experience. If you can create an experience within an automated webinar that will, one, allow the consumer to watch it from A to Z, but also it's also going to really show them on the experience of what it's like to work with you. And when you show an experience like that, it's really going to help them as the consumer to be like, yes, I have to work with her because she already gave me results, or I want to work with him because he actually gave me results. So if you can do something like that in your webinar, that's actually going to help you so much. So that's really super important when it comes to your free training, is to create something that's actually going to give them a result of some kind by the end of the webinar. So a quick example of what that can kind of look like is I actually have a client that does really super well on her automated webinar, and it just breaks down how to write a post for your social media and that sells your one-on-one. That's what she breaks down inside of her webinar. Now, I have other clients who do audits where they basically ask questions throughout the webinar, and that just gets them to, again, understand who you are as an expert, as well as it creates an experience. That's really super important when you are wanting to get someone to watch that video all the way through so they can really see the offer, but it also gets them to go, yes, I have to buy this offer from this person. The second step is actually a really good recommendation that I want to give you guys. If you are trying to get a high-paying client, someone who is maybe $3,000 or more, maybe upwards of $20,000, $30,000, if you're looking for a client that's going to spend that much in the investment to work with you, then we need to actually nurture them even more than just the webinar. Because if you're pushing out a $500 course, then you can do a webinar on just that. But if you're looking to get a really high-paying client, you need to nurture them so much. So in order to do that, I would recommend that your call to action on your webinar is to book a call. Now, the way that I do this is actually really super different from any other person out there when they do book a call type of webinars, in which I recommend that when you're talking about the call, when you're talking about the sales call on the webinar, that you actually break down why should they get on that call with you. Not just, so you can apply to my program. They don't care. They want to know the reason why they should be booking that call with you. So for an example, mine could go down the realm of, okay, so if you get on this call with me, I will show you a strategy that we will do together if you ended up working with me. So, this is the type of ad strategy and this is the type of marketing strategy that you should move forward with. So that's something that I could definitely do within my own sales call, but you have to think of, what can I do on a sales call within a short period of time, maybe about 30 minutes, maybe 15 minutes? What can I do on this call that's going to get them to close? But also, how can I get people who are watching this webinar to actually book the call with me? And that is by pitching your sales call. All right, so let's say you did your webinar. Let's say you had a call to action to book a call. And then let's say somebody booked a call. How do you close them? Now, if you're not really good at sales calls, that's perfectly fine. I believe personally that sales calls really come down to no scripting. I mean, I've gone down the road of scripting before and it's never helped me, and instead it just made me really super icky and gross whenever I used a sales call script. So instead, what I tend to do is a little bit different. I tend to let the client run most of the sales call because that allows them to really put out what feels good in that moment for them to talk about. I do have a format though that I will put on the side right here, which is basically in the beginning of the call, I do a little bit of, back and forth, where do you live? What's the weather? Small talk, regular type of talk that I would normally do with a regular stranger, right? After that, then I basically ask them what their goals are for their business. I want to break down what are their goals, because once I figure that out, then I can start figuring out, okay, if they want to do a course, they want to sell a course in passive income, then I can start talking about that specifically and, what kind of strategy that we can move forward with that. And I can show them what that looks like. Or maybe I can, show them a case study of some other client that I've worked with that has that same type of strategy. One of the potential clients that I have wants to do a high-paying type of funnel, a high-ticket type of funnel. I can do the same thing. I can walk them through a couple of case studies of clients. I can show them what kind of strategy we can move forward with. So it really just depends, but I like knowing what their goals are, because then I personally can show them what it's going to be looking like to work with them, what type of strategy that we're going to work on together, so on and so forth. So that's really super important to note. And then after that, I let them kind of run the show. I want them to ask what the investment is. I want them to ask me, why they should hire me. And I want them to really run that sales call more than anything, because that takes all the ickiness away of being the regular salesman that I don't want to be. So I let them run it as much as they can. Sometimes people forget the investment. So if a client ever forgets that part, I will throw that in at the end of the thing. And I'm also not very urgent on the sales calls. I know that you've probably heard of many people talk about, trying to get the payment over the phone. But whenever I have done that in the past, it's always felt really gross to me. So instead, I allow them to just make that decision. And sometimes I'll follow up with them, sometimes I won't. I'm not in the business to be, trying to overcome objections. I'm not trying to convince someone to work with me. So if someone doesn't want to work with me, that's perfectly fine. And I can move along my merry way, and eventually maybe they'll come back to me. But even if not, I'm fine with that at the end of the day, because I know I'm going to have other clients in the future, and I'm not worried about every single client that I get on a sales call with. So that's really super important to know when it comes to sales calls, is really just allowing them to run the sales call for you. And then if they decide not to make that investment, it's not that big of a deal. You'll have another sales call, and another one, and another one, and another one. And you get better while you practice. So once you've created your sales funnel, the next step on what you need to create is the actual ads. So if you'll see, I'm gonna make a recommendation up top here in the corner on a video that I created. It's actually really super short, it's about 2 minutes long. And basically it breaks down on how to create a simple ad that you can push on your Instagram and also Facebook so that you can start pushing ads to the right place. Another thing to note though when it comes to your ads is you should probably be running 2 types of ads with this funnel. So the first ad will be the one to your actual free training. And that's going to be to a cold audience, people who have no idea who you are. The second type of ad I would recommend that you start running is a retargeting ad. A retargeting ad is so that you can actually have your call to action as an actual ad, and it pushes towards a warmer audience. So for example, if you wanted to push it towards your Instagram following, or if you only wanted to push it towards people who have been opting in on the free training, that is a possibility for you. But retargeting ads, you can really push the call to action, whether that's to book a call, or if it's to a sales page for a course, or whatever it is, whatever the call to action is, that is the retargeting ad that you can start pushing. And it really just gets the call to action to be shown multiple times, over and over again. Just because, as you can see, not everyone reads your emails. Not everyone is looking at your organic marketing because the algorithm kind of sucks. So it's really good if you can use a retargeting ad that continues to push out to the people that you want to really get them to do the call to action that you really need them to start pushing into. So that's it for today's video. Make sure that you like and subscribe to this video so that you can get notified for all the future videos that I have, all on online marketing, being a mompreneur, and Facebook ads, all of that. I want to see you on the next video, so I will talk to you later.